Kenneth could still hear the villagers whispering as he walked past the market, the weight of their words pressing down on him like an unbearable burden. He didn't need to strain to hear them. They made no effort to lower their voice. "Stay away from him," one woman said to her daughter. "He's cursed. Do you want bad luck in your home?" Kenneth grew up with Mr. John and Mrs. Carroll, a kind couple who had no children of their own. They loved him dearly and had told him that his parents were killed by a wild animal when he was a baby. Mr. John had claimed to have killed the beast and saved Kenneth's life, though he never questioned their story. A part of Kenneth always wondered about his real parents. Despite the villagers' whispers, Kenneth was respected for his hunting skills. He brought home fresh meat, which Mrs. Carroll would prepare, and they sold some at the market. Yet, the respect never translated into companionship. Every time he tried to approach a woman, she would recoil, terrified of the curse that supposedly clung to him. One Sunday, as Kenneth was heading home from the forest, he walked past a woman. He didn't pay much attention. He had trained himself not to. But she stopped in her tracks, watching him as he walked past her. Anita, the daughter of a prominent chief from a neighboring community, was unlike anyone Kenneth had ever met. She was bold, intelligent, and unafraid to follow her heart. That day, she had just returned from visiting a friend in Kenneth's village. When she saw him, something stirred inside her. "What a fine young man," she said to herself. The next day, Kenneth was at the market selling meat to a regular customer. When Anita approached his stall, "Hello," she said with a smile. Kenneth looked up, startled. "Hi, do I know you?" "Not exactly," Anita replied. "We walked past each other yesterday." "Oh," Kenneth said, still unsure why she was talking to him. "Is there something you need?" "No," she said confidently. "I just wanted to say hello, and maybe we could be friends." Kenneth froze. Friends? A woman asking him to be friends? He closed one eye, searching for her face for mockery, but found none. "Are you sure?" he asked in shock. "Of course," Anita said, smiling warmly. Kenneth nodded slowly. "All right, we can be friends." Later that day, Kenneth told his friend Mark about the encounter. Mark's traditional marriage was 2 days ago. Kenneth was his best man. He was happy for him but not for himself, because he had dreamed for something like this someday. "She asked to be friends with you," Mark asked. "Ah, yes," Kenneth replied. "Are you sure she's not planning to make fun of you?" Kenneth shrugged. "I don't know. But it doesn't matter. No one has ever been this bold with me before." Days later, Kenneth was sitting outside washing his clothes. His phone rang. He picked it up. Anita was the one calling. "Anita, I would like us to meet and see to know ourselves better." "Kenneth, who do you want? Were you sent by anyone or what?" "Alice, no. Why did you say that?" "I just wanted us to be friends." "Sorry if I crossed my boundary." She hanged off. Kenneth felt pity for her for speaking that way, but he did not regret it after all. Everyone was scared of the bad luck he would bring to any family he marries from. Kenneth went on with his normal hunting, this time with Mr. John. Kenneth saw Anita from far, chatting with friends. He recognized her and ran after her. "Hi, Anita, do you remember me?" "Yes, I do. What do you want from me?" "I'm sorry how I spoke to you last time. About your request is accepted." Anita smiled. "Okay. Kenneth, I hope to hear from you soon." He smiled, went back to his uncle. Mr. John asked him, "What was that?" He smiled and said, "Don't worry, uncle." His uncle said, okay." Anita's friends pulled her closer. "Don't you know about this guy?" They told her everything, that no lady wants anything to do with him. Anita, "But he's human." A fine one at that. Why will he be treated that way? We are friends. Over the next few weeks, Kenneth and Anita became close. She would call him on the phone and they would meet occasionally at quiet spots in the village. Their bond grew stronger and Kenneth began to feel something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years: hope. One evening, as they sat under a tree by the river, Kenneth looked at Anita. "Why me?" he asked. "You could have anyone. Why would you want to be with someone like me?" "Because you are kind, strong, and brave," Anita replied without hesitation. "And I don't care what people say about you. I see the person you are." Kenneth eventually proposed to Anita, and she accepted. Overjoyed, Anita took him to meet her parents, but the meeting didn't go as planned. "You will never marry my daughter," her father, Chief Thomas, thundered. "Not when I'm still alive." Kenneth fled the house, his heart pounding. Anita tried to chase after him, but her father's guards held her back. Chief Thomas sat Anita down. "Forget about him," he said angrily. "He will bring nothing but shame to this family." A few weeks, Kenneth sank into despair. Mr. John noticed his sadness and sat him down. "What's troubling you, my son?" Kenneth poured out his heart, explaining everything that had happened. "Do you love her?" Mr. John asked. "Yes," Kenneth said, tears in his eyes. "Then fight for her. True love is worth fighting for." Kenneth gathered his courage and returned to Chief Thomas' house to plead for Anita's hand. But instead of listening, the chief had him tied to a tree in the compound. "You dare defy me?" Chief Thomas roared. "Let me show you what happens to stubborn men like you." For 2 days, Kenneth was tied to the tree, weak and dehydrated. Anita begged her father to release him, but he refused, unless she renounced her love for Kenneth. Meanwhile, Mr. John and Miss Carol were frantic searching for Kenneth. During the search, a car pulled up to their home, and out stepped a man who introduced himself as Richard, Kenneth's biological father. "I've come to find my son," Richard said. Mr. John stoned quickly, explained the situation. Together, they hurried to Chief Thomas' house. When they arrived, they found Kenneth tied to the tree. Richard's blood boiled. "Mr. John, what is this? You tied my son to a tree?" "Mr. Thomas, yes, I did that." Immediately he saw the man that helped him out a few years ago in his business, Kenneth's father, Mr. Richard. "Mr. Thomas, my good friend, what are you doing here? And how did you know my house?" He was so happy to see him. "Come in, please." "Mr. Richard, you tied my son to a tree and you asked me to come inside your house." "Mr. Thomas, your son? How?" "Guards, set him free. Clean him up. Change his clothes fast." He ordered the guards. "I'm deeply sorry. I don't know he's your son." You don't need to know someone's lineage to treat them with dignity," Richard snapped. Kenneth was freed and taken back to Mr. John's house. There, Richard explained the truth about Kenneth's past, how his family had tried to kill him and his mother because of his albinism, and how Mr. John had saved him. Kenneth wept. "So I have a father, and my mother, she's gone." Oh, Richard embraced his son. "I never stopped searching for you." Chief Thomas visited Kenneth to apologize. "I see now how much you love my daughter," he said. "You have my blessing." Next day, Anita and Kenneth met at their usual place and were so happy. They hugged themselves so tight. "Ah, Anita, you're going to rip my skin off." Months later, Kenneth and Anita were married in a joyous ceremony. The villagers who once shunned Kenneth Anne looked at him with admiration. Many regretted not giving him a chance. Kenneth and Anita built a happy life together. They were blessed with twins, a boy and a girl. Their daughter, an albino, was loved by everyone, proving that the so-called curse was nothing more than a baseless superstition. Kenneth owned some businesses that was willed to him by his father. Kenneth often sat under the tree by the river with his family, grateful for the love that had changed his life.